Hello dear student, this is Professor Ashok Thumar and you are welcome to my video which is going on for the very much important chapter coupling, clutches and brakes. Dear student, if you have seen my previous two video lecture on same chapter couplings, clutches and brakes, in particular those two videos I have discussed on couplings and clutches. Now it's time to discuss one more mechanical important component, and that is a brake. Basically, brake is a mechanical device which retard or even stop the motion of rotating parts of even automobile vehicle or machinery, generally known as a brake. So over here, one question that may be arise in your mind is that then what is the principle behind which brake works? Dear student, a brake is generally absorbing kinetic energy of the rotating element, and it converts its kinetic energy into frictional, or we can say that the heat energy. In that way, it is possible to have the retardation of motion of any rotating member. Now it's time to have the discussion on essential requirement, or we can say that what should be the good characteristics of a brake has. First and most important characteristic is that it should be strong enough to the vehicle, which should be stopped within the minimum distance. That means if you are applying brake, then your vehicle or even machine component should not take longer periodic time, or even not your vehicle should not take the or cover the maximum distance. Your brake should be have the quick response to retard or even stop the motion of vehicle. Second important characteristic is that brake should have the good control over the vehicle, and by applying brakes, your vehicle should be not skidding or overturning. So this is what important characteristic the brake should have. Third characteristic, brakes should have anti-fade characteristic. We all know that due to frictional grip between rotating and brake materials or brake parts, it may possible that the high heat will be produced due to frictional resistance. Parts of the brake or even rotating member should be damaged. So that should be not happen in case of the brake that you are using. Fourth characteristic is brake should have the efficient cooling system. We know that due to frictional grip, it may possible that there will be a high amount of heat will be produced, and which cause the thermal stress and thermal damage, not only braking parts but also rotating member which is working nearby it. So if brake possess a good cooling system, then whatever the cooling medium will absorb the large amount of it, and that way it will prevent the thermal damage of the component of braking system. uh, Fourth one, it should be not affected by moisture and oil. That is also one of the good characteristics. Fifth one is high heat conductivity. What I said earlier, that due to heat generation, the braking part should be not get damaged, and to prevent this phenomena, braking parts have the good conductivity of it. That means whatever the heat produced due to gripping mechanism, or we can say that resistance, heat should be conducted easily by the braking part, and it should be reject the same heat to the surrounding parts or surrounding. So this is what the braking part should have good conductivity. Fifth characteristic is the high resistance to wear and scoring. Here in scoring, that means the material is gradually removing from the braking parts. That means if you are using a good brake, then due to high frictional resistance, material should be not removed gradually from the braking parts or even rotating parts. So that should be the good characteristics of any brake. Second last is the projecting part should be covered, because we have seen same case in case of coupling also. If projecting parts are there in brakes, and if we are operating brake, then it may cause damage the nearby parts which is mounted in brake, or even it may possible that due to this projecting parts, whatever the persons working nearby this brake, it has a chance to damage or an accident. So in order to prevent that accident or damage, all the projecting parts of the brake should be covered. Last characteristic is that it should easy to have the repairing and maintenance. Your braking system or the braking parts should be assembled in such a way that it should be easily replaced, it should be easily repaired, or it should be easily maintained throughout the life of your braking parts. So this is what the essential requirement of good brake. Dear student, after that we are coming very much important topic, and that is the classification of brake. Generally, any brake can be classified into main three categories: mechanical brakes, electrical brakes, and hydraulic brakes. Basically, all three brakes are classified based on its working principle. Suppose now we able to know that in order to have the brake, you require some what an external force. Suppose you are finding a brake in which the whatever the external force is required to apply brake is transferred to braking part through various mechanical component only, then that brakes will be known as a mechanical brake. But suppose you are using some electrical circuit or transducer, and through which whatever the force applied is transferred to braking parts, it will be known as an electrical brakes. But if you are using some hydraulic fluid like oil, like water, or some other hydraulic medium, and by using that medium you are transferring the same force, then your brake will be hydraulic brake. But presently we will discuss only mechanical brakes because of syllabus limitation. And mechanical brakes further classified in four main categories. Number one is block brake, number two is bend brake, number three is internal or external expanding shoe brake, and last one is the disc brakes. First type of the brake in case of mechanical brake is block brake. Dear student, block brake can be categorized in two way: single block or shoe brake, and double block or double shoe brakes. Let's start with the single block or shoe brake. But before it, the term shoe or even block is very important to understand first. Basically, shoe or block is a integral part of any braking system, and this shoe or block is made from frictional resistance material like Ferrado or asbestos. Now look at the top side of the top diagram of the single block or shoe brake. There is one common lever. One end is connected with fulcrum, whereas one end over which brake operator can apply the force P for the braking operation. Now there is a one shoe or block which is mounted at the exactly middle portion of that lever, and exactly below that block or shoe there is a rotating wheel. We can say that the brake wheel, which is rotating in clockwise direction. Suppose you require to stop or retard the motion of this brake wheel, then just you require to have the pushing force at the end of lever. Due to that, the lever along with this shoe will move and come to contact with the outer peripheral surface of brake wheel. So due to that contact, there will be a frictional grip, and frictional resistance force will produce. It will act in opposite direction, and that way the brake wheel will be retard its motion, or even brake wheel will be stopped. So this is what about single block or shoe brake. Then after this time to have the discussion on double block or shoe brake, because the name gives the constructional detail. Herein, in place of single block and lever assembly, we are using two levers and two shoe. Look at the top left hand side diagram. There is a two vertical lever and one horizontal mechanical link is there. One end of both of the lever is fulcrum at the bottom, whereas the upper end of one vertical lever is connected with or we can say that assembled with the horizontal link end, and other end of lever there is a connection of belt crank lever with it vertical lever. Now look at the horizontal link, or we can say that the element. There is a spring is provided, actually it is compression helical spring, and there is also at the middle link there is a one lever is provided. Now if suppose you require to have the braking action, then just you need to disassemble both of the blocks with the braking wheel or simple wheel. So in order to apply brake, just you need to apply the external force at the end of the lever. So what happens, due to that external force P, this compression helical spring will get compressed, and both of the vertical lever will try to move in outward direction. That means in that way both of the levers along with their shoes will try to separate from the peripheral surface of braking wheel. So there will be no contact between braking wheel and shoe. So we can say that the brake is released. So a braking wheel can transmit power in either direction. Now suppose you require to have the retardation of motion of braking wheel, or you require to stop the motion of brake wheel. At that time just you need to release the force P that is applied at the end of the lever. So what happens, due to release of the force P, helical spring will get released and it will offer a force P directly on one of the vertical lever, and in that way lever is try to move towards the brake wheel. Similar case happens in left hand side vertical wheel. So one time it comes that both of the lever along with their shoe will get connected with the outer surface of brake wheel, and that will be a huge frictional resistance force to be produced, and that way the motion of that double brake wheel will be retarded or even stopped. Right hand side diagram, you might have seen that the same there is a model and which is available at our engineering mechanical engineering laboratory. So this is a prototype model of a double shoe block brake, and right hand side diagram you may compare this model with that diagram also. Bottom side diagram shows an application of this double block or shoe brake. Basically this diagram is taken from the cycle rear or front wheel. We all know that in case of cycles, bicycles, we are using shoe brake because shoe are there, but shoe are in two numbers, so we can say that this is a double shoe or block brake. You may also see all the component. There is a vertical lever is there, spring is there, there is a operating lever is also there. So this is the best and simple example of double block or shoe brake. After that we are coming very much important subcategory of mechanical brake, and that is band brake. Actually a band brake is use band, that means flat belt, and which is made from once again frictional resistance material. Look at the diagram. From the diagram one may easily understand the working and constructional detail of this type of band brake. There is a one brake wheel which rotating in clockwise direction, and that outer peripheral surface of that wheel band is mounted. One end of that band is mounted at the end of lever, whereas other end is mounted on right hand side of fulcrum of that lever, whereas rightmost side the end there is a provision of force P in either direction. Uh, Now it's very easy to have the working of simple bend brake due to external force over here. uh, Lever will move in upward direction, which goes to tight this bend which is mounted on the outer periphery of drum, or we can say that the brake wheel. So there will be a gripping between the surface of a brake wheel and bend, and frictional resistance will be set up. So in that way we can say that braking will be possible. One more thing that should be discussed herein is that in previous case, if you are comparing block and bend brake, then bend is very effective because look at the diagram carefully. uh, the contact of bend with outer peripheral surface of brake wheel is more. We can say that the contact start here to up to here. So in short we can say that braking action is performed in large area as compared to shoe brake. So we can say that the bend brake is more efficient as compared to simple shoe or block brake. Then after one more types of bend brake, that is the differential bend brake. It looks like very similar to simple bend brake, except there is a little modification. Modification is done specifically by providing fulcrum at the middle of the brake wheel. Nearly, look at the diagram. Fulcrum O is generally mounted between both of the end of bend A and B. By that arrangement, if you are applying force P, braking force, then first of the gripping surfaces or gripping pressure will be much more as compared to single bend brake. If you are doing or mounting fulcrum at middle portion of both of the end A and B, then whatever the braking force that is required to produce braking action will be more. So over here you are finding much more frictional resistance force as compared to simple bend brakes. So that's why this is the special provision given in order to have the efficient bend brake. All other characteristic and working principle will be remain same as that of the simple bend brake. After that, third most important types of brake that we are coming across for the learning purpose is an internal expanding brake. Dear student, it's very important, and this type of internal expanding brake are currently being used in wide variety of applications. The same brake you may see that the rear wheel of automobile car, this type of internal expanding shoe brake are used. Look at the left hand side diagram. First of all we have the constructional detail. uh, Actually there are two shoes, shoes 1 and shoes 2 are used, and which are mounted over which there are two frictional lining. Look at the black colored, it is actually frictional lining, and these two shoe along with frictional lining are mounting on a casing, that is outer surface. Now both of the shoe 1 and shoe 2 are connected with a cam, and cam is connected with lever. uh, there is a rotating wheel to which we require to apply retardation, or we require to stop its motion. Now if you are applying force P over here, then lever will try to move in horizontal direction or horizontal plane. Along with that lever, cam will also move in and try to get new position in horizontal plane like that. So in that way it will produce P outward force on both of the shoes. So both of the shoes will move towards the inner surface of this brake drum or body, or we can say that the cell. But we know that at the outer surface of both of the shoes there is a frictional lining material. So both of the lining material will directly come with the internal surface of this brake drum, and this way there will be a huge frictional resistance set up and we can say that there will be a braking action. So this is what the working and constructional detail of internal expanding shoe brake. One more thing that we should to discuss here is that both of the shoes, one end of which is connected with fulcrum O1 and O2, whereas other end is connected with this cam. And exactly below cam there is a common spring which connects both of these shoes. So what happens if you are not during a non-braking period? This spring is specially of tensile helical spring, so that during non-braking period, that means if you are not applying any kind of force on this lever, spring will continuity in continuous manner. It will apply the tensile force, and that way there will be always remain a gap between inner surface and frictional lining material. So there will be nothing to any frictional grip between both of these contacting surfaces in case there will be a non-braking period. Look at the diagram. This is the actual internal expanding brake which is used especially in a rear wheel of four-wheel car. One may easily see that this is the shoe, this is a braking lining material, or we can say that the frictional lining material is there, and this is the outer shell, or we can say that the drum. This is the tensile spring is also over here, and this is the cam which is connected with the help of lever. So this is the real photographs of an internal expanding brake. The last type of brake, that is the disc brake, and this type of brake we have listened and also seen at numbers of automobile vehicles, especially in two-wheeler bike. If we take example of Pulsar or some high racing bike, then you have seen such type of bike specially mounted on front wheel of that bike. Basically this disc brake is work on the principle of hydraulic circuits, or we can say that hydraulic force. Look at the diagram carefully. This is the driven shaft, and there is a revolving disc. Revolving disc is mounted on driven shaft, and this driven shaft is rotating in either direction. So ultimately we require to retard or stop the motion of this revolving disc by using disc brake. Now by carefully looking, there is a one body, and exactly in body there is a piston. Two piston in pair is used, and both of the piston are connected with one cylinder. Both of the sides there is a cylinder, and there is a one channel in which there are two passages in which special hydraulic fluid like oil or other hydraulic medium is going to pass. Now suppose you require to have the application of brake, then just you need to pressurize the water or other hydraulic medium in this channel, and it will divert in two way. This high pressurized oil or other hydraulic medium will come inside the cylinder, and in this cylinder it will move towards the piston side over here. So ultimately it will cause to heavy force on the surface of piston, and that way piston will move towards the rotating disc like that. So what happens after application of high pressure hydraulic fluid inside the piston? Both of the side the piston will move and get connected on the common surface of rotating disc over here. So there will be a huge frictional grip once again, and it goes to retard the motion of this revolving disc or revolving wheel. Once again the piston is connected with both of the very specific material, and that is frictional lining material. So we can say that on the both of the side of this wheel, this frictional lining material are come into contact, and it produce the resistance force. In that way it retard the motion of revolving disc. Look at the hydraulic disc brake system. It is specially used in four-wheel car or some heavy loaded vehicles. By the brake pedal, this is if you are using force P, then it will transfer force to this vacuum power brake booster. It will boost the fluid present inside the piston and cylinder. So whatever the high pressure hydraulic medium or fluid is moved in one channel, or we can say that one pipe, and there is a one master piston and cylinder, and this diagram specifically this diagram we have seen in previous slide. So once again this high pressure fluid will enter in both of the channel, both of the piston, and due to high pressure of this hydraulic fluid, piston will move along with that frictional material and come into direct contact with this rotating disc. So that in that way frictional grip will be high, and rotating disc will retard its motion, and entire this rotating disc is clamped or assembled with the road wheel, we can say the tire. So ultimately, if you are retarding the motion of this disc, ultimately you retard the motion of four-wheel tire too. So we can say that in that way hydraulic brake system works. So dear student, in this lecture specifically we have discussed about the brakes, its function, its specific requirement, and types of mechanical brakes. At the end we have discussed. Thank you very much for your kind of attendance, and stay tuned with our video lecture series. Thank you very much.